my name is Trevor Caswell. I'm with the Little Rascals 4-H Club and I'm reporting it. This is Jill Palmenberg from the company Oxallis, LLC. How are you and your company doing?
Just fine, thank you.
You're welcome. I was going to ask you a few questions today about buyer letters, small stock auction, and just 4-H in general.
Great.
So what made you become a buyer?
Well, I own my own company, Oxallis, LLC. I do pharmaceutical research for cancer patients. There's treatments out there that are being discovered every day, but they don't know if they work until they test them on patients. So that's what I do. So one of the things about being a buyer is that I get a tax deduction when I buy animals at the fair. But also, just Oxallis LLC, it's very hard as a single person, sole proprietor, to find a way to give back to the community. And this is how I decided to do that.
Oh.
My company.
So why is the 4-H attire important to you?
As a business owner myself, I realize that when I go out to research locations that I have to dress a certain way to portray my professionalism. If I'm dressed in, slouchy pants and tattooed up and things like that, people aren't going to take me seriously. They're uncomfortable. But when I dress professionally, I see that I'm treated a different way. I feel that when you go out to the fair, 4-Hers go out to the fair, it's you're kind of like your final exam, and it's your job. You're there to educate the public. So wearing a professional dress when you're showing in particular allows the public to say, "Wow, look at that guy up there. He's serious about his poultry," or whatever you're showing. So I just feel that it puts you in a certain mindset as well. In addition to me looking on as the public. In the public eye there, I feel it's just a professional, it portrays professionalism for the whole group.
Thank you. So what don't you like to see in buyer letters?
Okay, that's an interesting question. One of the worst things for me is when someone writes me a letter and says, "Dear buyer." What that tells me is they didn't take 5 minutes to look me up online and, figure out my actual name. The other part of that is being poultry coordinator. I'm out there a lot, and I've been a buyer now for 5 years. So a lot of people do know me and know that that's my company. I just find it a little insulting, especially if you know me. Call me by my name, Mrs. Palmenberg or Jill or however we talk when we're together. That's my least favorite thing to see is that dear buyer. I also, don't like to see a letter with no handwritten message on it. So surely, especially if you know me, there's some kind of a connection that we have through a project or something else. I have a letter that I received from a boy who I've bought his bird several years in a row, and he said, "Thank you so much for supporting me in the past. I look forward to seeing you this year." So that's in addition to his written letter. He handwrote that on the side. It makes me feel nice that he remembers me and he appreciates me.
Okay, thank you. So, Jill, what do you like to see in buyer letters?
What I do like to see, I like to know not only what you do in 4-H, but I like to know what else you're involved in. Because what you're trying to do with the buyer letter is make a connection with the buyer. So, of course, I was in 4-H when I was a kid, but not everybody out there was. But, so maybe if you're in Boy Scouts or something, maybe my husband was in Boy Scouts and says, "Oh, that was so much work. We should look at this kid to buy his bird because he has all these projects that he's working on." Another thing is like if you're in band. I was in band, my kids are in band, so I always like to hear that other kids are in band too. It's just trying to make that personal connection. I like to see the handwritten signature. It's funny because one of my sons has very, very bad handwriting, and it's just how he is. And so, but that's okay. He types his letter, but then he always writes a handwritten sentiment on there too, and then, sincerely yours, or thank you so much, or something like that, and then signs his name. I have one boy who I've bought his bird for years, and he always signs his letter, "Love whoever." And I said, I just love that. When I get that letter, I like that. And my mom said, "That's so nice." And I appreciate that because that's a very nice thing. I also like to see a photograph of you because when I go to the barn, you know how big the barn is, right?
Oh, yeah.
The barn is humongous. And how many birds?
There's at least like 100.
Oh, guess how many birds there were last year?
What?
530 birds out there. Yeah, that's a lot of birds. So how am I as a buyer going to find you and your bird? So if I have a picture of you, and it's a nice, I like it when I get a snapshot of you, you know, that you print out at Walgreens or wherever, CVS, wherever, then I really have a clear picture. I mean, a picture embedded in your letter is very nice too, but I like that other picture because then I can see it without my glasses on, and it's helpful to me. Those are my big things that I like to see in a letter.
Well, thank you. So, Jill, the last question I would like to ask you is, why do you think buyer letters are important?
You know, I mentioned a little bit earlier in one of my earlier questions, you're always trying to make that connection to the buyer. And, you know, as poultry coordinator, I believe that we should, as a group, be educating the public because I think that the food supply is a tough issue. You know, there's a lot of people now making changes and they're becoming vegetarian, they're moving towards the vegan movement. There's a lot of different things, but you know, as poultry owners, we understand how poultry is raised and how, you know, how versatile it is, right? I understand you're doing the quail project this year. Quail are a perfect example of that. They're multi-purpose animals, right? They can be used for eggs or meat, and they don't eat a lot. They don't even eat as much as a chicken, and that's hardly anything at all. I just feel like it's our job kind of to educate the public, and one way we do that is by drawing them in and bringing them out to the fair to see what you do. Because so many people have never touched a chicken. They've never seen a chicken up close. They don't have any clue what it takes to own a chicken or other poultry. So when you're writing to these businesses and they come out and they support us out there, they support you, they support me too, because, you know, I can't have a project without everybody out there. You know, it's helping us get the word out there about poultry. And, you know, a nice side effect of that is you are going to, you know, if you participate in the auction and you sell your bird, you have funding so that you can use that, and that's something you add to your letter. You can use it for other interests, for your, say, a Boy Scout camp, or you use it to buy some new birds for next year, or maybe you're paying your parents back for a coop that you made, which tells the business owner that you've had to learn how to budget and do things like that. So I think it's just kind of closes the circle. When you write a buyer's letter, you've done all this work on the back end. Now you're going to educate the public and bring in a new buyer to help support everybody.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for spending your time with me and discussing these ideas that I brought up.
You're welcome. I enjoyed our time. Thank you.
Thank you.